Our story begins in a village called Lightdown Village. It is a peaceful place, at least, usually. The villagers are all light magic users, except for a few that are simply humans. It is rather unusual for a village to only have one element magic within it, but the place was far away from any city, so there was that. The other reason for the lack of other elements is the policy. For the villagers, light magic was the most pure and perfect magic to exist, unlike all the others, especially one in particular, dark magic. This kind of magic was forbidden, as they associated dark magic with the impure, evil, and it was considered a curse. Aside from the policy, the village was still friendly towards other elements, as long as it was not dark magic. Sir Orian, the leader of the village, was a benevolent man, caring of the citizens, and would always find the right words to fix the problems, and was in charge of the political decisions and the education. He had started to act a bit differently after a while, but it wasn't anything bad. He was getting old after all. The leader wasn't the only beloved and known person within the village, and that person truly was loved and admired by all. Her name was Angelica Winterfold. She was a beautiful woman with long brown hair and gorgeous bright blue eyes. Her eyes were clear like crystal, and her smile was enough to chase away the sadness one could have felt. She truly was a beautiful woman, outside and inside. Angelica was known for her beauty, but also for her kindness and humility. She would always help those in need and always took care of everyone and everything with patience and kindness. She and her husband William Morigan were well respected and loved by everyone, and they loved them all back. They were the example of a perfect couple, loving, caring. Everyone wanted to be like them. The only thing missing in their perfect happy life was to have a child of their own. They've had prayed for this gift of life, and their prayers were finally heard. A child was born, a beautiful daughter. She had her mother's eyes, and would surely grow to become a wonderful woman like her. Angelica and William were both crying of happiness. They had a beautiful daughter, and they would care and love her like no one has ever loved before. She was their treasure, their sparkle of light. Nothing could ever make them stop loving their precious daughter. At least, that was what they had thought. When a child turns 1 year old, it is a time where we can determine if the child is an elemental, and if yes, which element they shall bear. The couple had expected their daughter to be a light magic user, like them and everyone else in the village, but it was not the case. Their adorable daughter, whom they swore they loved no matter what, was a dark magic user. Their own daughter was a dark magic user. The magic Sir Orian had forbidden in this village, the unholy magic. William was devastated and disgusted when he learned the truth. He no longer wanted to do anything with this filthy creature that he used to call his daughter, but he didn't want to leave the woman he loved. Angelica meant the world to him, and he didn't want to leave her side, despite having lost the love he had for his daughter. So he stayed, even if it meant lying to her face about loving their child. Angelica, however, wasn't swayed by the news. It didn't matter what element her daughter would control. Magic is not what defines if a person is good or bad, after all. This is what she'd always believed, and she was not going to believe in anything else. She continued to love her daughter endlessly, caring and protecting her from the outside world. She knew that if her little angel was to be found by the other citizens, the consequences would be disastrous. Deep inside, Angelica knew that her husband didn't feel the same way about their daughter. She saw the glimpse in his eyes fade and could see the disgust in them. It hurt her oh so deeply, but she managed to brush it aside. If he was not going to love their child, she would. She and William's perfect relationship started decaying as William grew more and more distant while Angelica grew closer and closer with her daughter. the sparkle of light in her life.
Mommy, why does Daddy hate me?
The innocent girl once asked her mother. Because, she started, he can't see how much beautiful and wonderful you truly are.
It's okay, my angel. I'm here to love you, right?
The child giggled and hugged her mother.
I love you, Mom.
I love you too, Amari. William, please, do something! Don't let them take her! Angelica's desperate cry went unheard by everyone, even by her husband. Sir Orian had noticed how Angelica wouldn't really come outside anymore, not since her child turned 1 year old. He's waited 3 more years to see if there would be a change, but no. Angelica would never go out with her child. None of them had seen the child. Orian was getting furious, as it meant Angelica was hiding something. He had confronted William into telling him everything, and the man couldn't handle it anymore. He broke down in tears and confessed the secret. He told everything. He told the truth about their daughter's magic. The village was furious and felt betrayed by the secret. The woman they had looked up to, that they admired, cared for, and loved, had been hiding a filthy creature from them. She had become impure. She was no longer the beautiful angel she used to be in their eyes. Men and women were dragging Angelica away as she strongly struggled to get away from their grasps, to get back to her daughter that was being dragged away as she screamed and cried.
Angelica Winterfold, you are accused of treason and for keeping a filthy dark magic user a secret from your own people. As punishment of this unforgivable crime, you are sentenced to death and shall be hanged tomorrow at dawn,
declared Sir Orian, anger and disgust in his eyes, as he glared at the woman who was once loved by all.
Wait, you said you'd only take our child. You said my wife wouldn't get hurt,
yelled William in despair. Despite everything, William still loved his wife deeply. He had pleaded Orian to only take the child and to let his wife live. He only wanted to get rid of the child, not his wife.
Did you honestly think I was going to let such an act pass unpunished? As our laws are made, we are not allowed to hang a child as much as I like. Therefore, your so-called wife shall receive the punishment, as well as you. For 3 years you've kept your mouth shut instead of reporting this to me immediately. You are also a traitor. Bring them both in their cells.
Sir Orian watched mercilessly the couple being dragged away as they yelled and cried in despair. He then yanked the poor child from the villager's hands before throwing her violently on the floor.
You are a disgrace. You do not deserve to be treated as a living being, as dark magic users are filthy creatures. You're nothing but a filthy demon child.
With those words, the villagers and their leader left, leaving the shivering child on the floor, crying as she kept hearing those words in her head. Demon, demon, demon. She was just a filthy demon. Even if they are not allowed to sentence a child to death, that didn't stop the entire village from abusing and hurting the little girl as much as they could. They would yell at her, push her around, throw things at her. Sometimes they'd gather around to beat her up as a way to let their anger out. After a while, the girl had stopped crying and let it all happen. She was a demon after all, right? So she had no right to fight back. The small girl felt like this was what she deserved for being alive and accepted it. The light in her eyes had faded away, and they were now empty, filled with helplessness and devoid of emotions. Her once white dress was tearing apart, lost its white color to become more brownish, and the child was covered in dirt and bruises. She looked like a mess, and no one had ever gave her a chance. No one had lent their hand towards her. No one except this girl.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe they really would go this far. Are you okay, sweetheart?
Her name was Erina Winston. She was a pretty young woman with long raven hair tied up in a ponytail and emerald eyes. When the news had been told and Angelica had been hanged, Erina didn't know what to think of the situation. Her morals were conflicting with what she'd been taught. One side screamed at her that a child shouldn't go through this pain no matter what, and the other was reminding her that dark magic is impure and should be destroyed. In the end, her morals won. When she saw this poor little girl looking so helpless and empty, she felt compelled to protect her. She couldn't bear the thought of such a young child to be treated this way, and so Erina took the young girl in. The villagers in Orian had no right to forbid her from doing so. After all, she didn't keep it a secret, so they angrily let it slide. Erina had a younger brother named Larry who wasn't sure about having that child in their home. He was afraid of the consequences and didn't want any trouble. But looking at this child so broken, he too felt like it was unfair for her to be treated that way. No matter what people would tell them, they were going to love and take care of this child. It took a while before trust could happen. The young girl was very wary of the Winstons, as nothing could prove to her that they wouldn't treat her like garbage as well. However, they never did. They gave her a bath, they gave her new clothes, and they would smile. A gentle smile that made the girl feel safe. As time went on, the light in her eyes came back and she would smile more. This made Erina and Larry extremely happy. They both considered the child as part of their family, and she was like a younger sister. She was their little princess. Erina would often gently play with the young girl's hair and eventually made a ponytail. The little girl didn't really like it, but seeing how Erina would smile brightly every time, she let it happen. She wanted to make Erina and Larry happy because they were the only two people she had, and she loved them. She loved them more than anything. The three of them were together and lived happily despite everything for 2 years, but of course, it couldn't last. Erina had been hiding this from her brother and her new little sister, but she had been suffering of an illness for years. An illness that was slowly eating her magic and eating her energy. As she lay in her bed, she gently stroked Larry and the girl's cheeks, wiping away their tears. The young girl cried, apologizing, thinking it was her fault, but Erina told her it wasn't. She had been ill far before they took her in and had nothing to apologize for.
If anything, I should be apologizing for never telling you to,
she said, her voice shaking.
You two are so brave. Please never give up on living. You both have so much potential, and I know you'll do great things in life. I love you both more than anything in this world. So please, won't you smile for me one last time?
She said these words and let out her last breath.
Get her!
Kill her! Kill the demon already!
When the village learned about Erina's death, no matter how much Larry tried to explain that this was an illness she's had for years, everyone blamed the poor 6-year-old girl. Of course she's the one who caused this illness, because dark magic is a curse and needs to be eradicated. Sir Orian grabbed the child and threw her violently on the ground like he had done 2 years ago.
I now see the horrible mistake I've made by letting you live. I should have hanged you like your worthless mother. A demon like you should have never been born in the first place. A filthy creature like you needs to die.
As soon as these words were said, everyone started chanting and yelling words of hate and threats at the child before they immediately went for the murder. Larry was screeching and yelling at them to stop, but was kept in place by a bunch of other villagers to make sure he wouldn't interfere. Blood started dripping from the child's nose and mouth, and this time, her fear kicked in. She didn't want to die. She didn't deserve this. She had to escape. She had to live. She had to live. Through her tears, she saw an opportunity and slipped past the villagers. She ran and ran like she never ran before. All she wanted was to get away from this place. The villagers immediately chased after her. They wouldn't let her escape. This monster had to perish. Larry watched helplessly as her small figure disappeared through the woods, followed by the crowd of angry villagers.
Please, don't hurt her! Leave her alone! Don't hurt my princess! Amari! Amari!
It was hard to run through the woods with tears in her eyes, and it was harder to run due to her injuries. But she couldn't give up now. The villagers were after her, and she couldn't stop now. As this thought went through her head, she didn't see the pit right in front of her and fell right through. She yelled as she fell and hit her head on the huge rock waiting for her at the bottom, making her lose consciousness immediately. The villagers watched the unmoving body of the child and left her. If she wasn't dead by now, she would die out in the woods anyways. When she came to, the girl's mind was fuzzy and hurt. Where was she? Why was she hurt? What was her name again? The child couldn't remember. She couldn't remember a single thing, and it made her scared. She started crying for help. She was lost, cold, hurt, and she remembered nothing. She thought no one would come to save her until she heard a voice. It was a deep, yet gentle voice calling for her. She got up and limped towards the voice, feeling a sense of security. She didn't know why, but she knew that this voice was something she could trust, something that would protect her at all costs, take care of her. She felt safe with that voice, so she kept following, and the path led to a necklace, a moon necklace. The end of a chapter, but a new beginning for another. Oh, that was depressing. Oh boy, I hope my neighbors weren't here because I kind of had to yell for this. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the story time. And I don't know how long it took. So, well, enjoy the rest of the speed paint. If you have more questions, ask me down below. I'll be happy to answer. Bye.